Soon the day of the wedding came and Gotoni was dressed in a traditional bride's attire, and a few guests in attendance admitted that she looked lovely. Once there lived a girl known as Gotoni. Though she was very beautiful, she was quite fat and obese, and at times would be a laughingstock in her village. She stayed for long without ever getting a suitor while all her age mates were married off. Gotoni had 3 other sisters, and she herself was the second born in their family of mother and 4 daughters. Their father had abandoned them after marrying another wife so that he could sire at least a son, since it was apparent that Gotoni's mother could only bear daughters. Gotoni grew obese when she got into adolescence, and no young man would make overtures with her, and when she heard some of her age mates complaining about being pestered by boys whenever they would go out fetching water, taking the sheep to graze, or engage in other chores, she would envy them and wish to be in their shoes and at least get one suitor. Gotoni was so fat that ordinary clothes would not fit her and had to have her own clothes made for her in order for her to be well clothed. Whenever she would go to the market, people would jeer and stare at her. However, she was gifted at cooking and would prepare delicious meals which she would barter for livestock on market days. One day, a merchant from the neighboring village called on their village to explore the possibility for selling their avocados and tomatoes when he spotted Gotoni. Unlike the other men of Gotoni's village who were indifferent towards her, this particular young man seemed eager to converse in Gotoni. He inquired from the plus-size girl if people in her village would be in need of items such as ropes for tying goats, avocados, and tomatoes. He simply introduced himself as Koroni and that he lived in the neighboring village. The handsome, young man soon left for his village and the jeering and whispers continued. Koroni soon continued meeting Gotoni, and after 2 weeks, he expressed his love for her. Gotoni was grateful to Providence for finally providing a man suitable for her. Koroni would meet Gotoni by a river bank. At times, they would meet in a grassy clearing and tell stories until the sun nearly set. One day, Gotoni and Koroni were walking along the path that led to the boundary between Koroni and Gotoni's villages, and from a distance, a girl by the name Wamboi spotted them. Wamboi was one of the pretty girls who had belittled and laughed at Gotoni, and the next day, she asked her about her encounter with the young man. "Do you know that is the son to the paramount chief of the neighboring village?" inquired Wamboi, her face a mixture of disbelief, admiration, and envy. Gotoni asked if it was so, and she affirmed what she had just said. Meanwhile, Koroni had sent emissaries to Gotoni's people asking for her hand in marriage and had set a day when he would come with some elders from his people's side to formalize things. On the day that Koroni and his retinue of guests arrived, they came in horse-drawn carriages, and Gotoni faced him squarely, asking him if he was the son of a paramount chief. He nodded. Gotoni was amazed. From there, a few girls who had been laughing at Gotoni now started envying her and sought her company. A few still felt envious and wondered how the chief's son could settle on such a shapeless girl. Soon the day of the wedding came, and Gotoni was dressed in a traditional bride's attire, and a few admitted that she looked lovely. Large quantities of food were served, and Gotoni's mother was given 50 sheep, 20 cows, and 15 chicken as dowry for her daughter's hand in marriage. The bride and groom were then taken to Koroni's village by means of a horse-drawn carriage. That night, Koroni and Gotoni consummated their marriage, and Koroni was happy. From there, Gotoni proved herself a diligent wife, for she would cook delicious meals which she would barter in exchange for sheep or goats on market days. These livestock thrived under her care, and soon the chief's son was among the wealthiest men in the 4 villages that comprised that clan. Back home, people no longer laughed at Gotoni the fat bride, but talked of how lucky her husband was to have married her.